is so good to see you. All of you here, join us right now. Please have a seat.
Thank you.
We're going to get started here, and I think we're going to have Niels join us online. So for all of you there with us that are streaming as well, we welcome you as well. Now, Gerry, Maria, Niels is joining us online. He's here with us. Niels, hello. All right, let's get this started. Let's get the introductions going. One of the challenges we hear consistently across life sciences, and really quite honestly, across process industries, is the challenge that we consistently generate high volumes of data across R&D, but then we have to bring that into development. We got to bring it into tech transfer. We've got to get to commercial production. But I'm here to tell you we're at an inflection point for our species. We are here. We finally have the platforms, the models, the raw computational power that we have needed as a species to make that life cycle, that digital thread, that molecule to market a reality. That's why we're here today. So, joining me on stage, you just heard from her, Maria Graham, very quickly, head of life sciences. She leads global strategy and industry engagement across the life sciences portfolio, working closely with customers and partners in R&D, manufacturing, and quality. Next to her is Gerry Keane, yes, the Gerry Keane, Group Vice President at Siemens Digital Industries Tech Software and the Global Integration Leader, helping bring together scientific intelligence, simulation, and lifecycle management. And joining us online, last but not least, Niels Vandervoort, Director of Digital Transformation for Synthetics at Johnson & Johnson, where he works hands-on with scientists and teams modernizing drug discovery and development workflows every day. Niels, we're going to get started with you if that's all right. So here's my question. From where you sit inside Johnson & Johnson, particularly in synthetics, share with us the trends and challenges you've seen that create those pressure points of change that are forcing organizations to rethink this entire digital thread. Niels, over to you.
All right, thanks for the introduction, John. And I will make sure to be live there in Hanover next year. But for now, we will do it like this. So I think, also great introduction by Maria in the previous session. And I think that the struggle for us in pharmaceutical companies is real in that sense that if you look at some of the trends that I will deep dive in the next couple of minutes, I think that emphasizes that need for that not only data collection, but that integrated data collection and the context that we need in order to make sure that we can thrive through AI. And the trends that I will describe, I will typically refer to the past. Well, this is a very recent past. So if we look at how, at least from a synthetics perspective, pharmaceutical industry and pharmaceutical R&D changed the last 3, 4, 5 years, that's a fundamental different way of working. So I think there are 3 very important aspects to deep dive on. And the first element is what we need to do. So if you look at the molecules that we develop, the complexity grew enormously over those last 3 to 4 years. And when I say grew enormously, if you look at molecules that we brought to the market around 2020 versus the molecules that we are bringing to the market now, you can look at a molecular complexity times 10 times 20. So these molecules are much bigger, much more complex, and that also means that the processes that we need to develop these molecules are much more elaborate, much more complex, much more entangled, and the products that we make also are more complex. It's not only about doing more complex things, it's also about doing more things. In the past, again, 5 years ago, when we talked about synthetics, small molecules, we talked about small molecules. Now, when we talk about synthetics, we talk about ADCs, radiotherapies, peptides, oligonucleotides, so very broad portfolio within synthetics. We don't only have to do more and more complex things, we also have to do them faster. So R&D timelines drastically reduced. I can give 2 reasons. If I look at typically the focus areas, if you, for example, look at an oncology program, where you typically go through a phase 1, a phase 2, a phase 3, these oncology programs, obviously, you don't test them on healthy people. So those phase 3 trials, they shift back or pulled to the front, let's say. Also, typically, if you talk about clinical trials, finding patients or finding people to jump into these trials is typically a rate limiting factor. But now, giving AI advancements, we find these people much easier and much faster. So the time that we have to develop new compounds in order to bring them to the market drastically shortened. Again, a factor 2, a factor 3. And then a third important element, and that might sound a bit strange, is competitiveness. So when we had a molecule a couple of years ago, that was quote unquote enough, when that molecule was safe and effective. But now competition becomes real, meaning we compete on cost, we compete on sustainability, we compete on patient-centric designs. If you can help a patient through a pill versus an injection, that's a very important element to take into account. And again, it adds complexity. So we need to do much more complex things, a much broader array of things in a much shorter time frame. And we can't do that by just doing what we did a bit more efficiently. We have to completely rethink how we do R&D in pharma.
So Niels, thank you for that. So my takeaway here, some of the points that you're bringing up, the complexity of the molecules, the complexity of the processes, the fact that we have a time frame that's really being condensed at the same time. So we have these dual pressure points. With that, Gerry, let's talk about Siemens' investments to address a lot of the pressure points that we just heard from Niels.
Well, well said, Niels. And John, I'm not going to match your energy, but I'll try. So actually, I am excited about this. For the past 15 plus years of my career, it's been about the process industry. So chemistry and biology, large and small molecule. You've seen a lot of really exciting things this week around how we've provided digital twins of manufacturing, bringing the real and digital worlds together through what PepsiCo's doing. Oh, by the way, they do chemistry, right? But we're talking about life sciences. So now as you think about the industry and where we've continued to invest, shift left from that manufacturing and the throughput and how we're actually producing those vaccinations. One of the big challenges we see next is around what's called technical transfer. How do we actually bring R&D and manufacturing together around the bill of material, the bill of process, the bill of equipment? That costs tens of millions of dollars in this industry. When you fail, it becomes a force multiplier. Now, molecule to market, we continue to shift left. What was Siemens missing? We were actually missing the brilliance of the science, meaning the chemists and the biologists. So most of you may be aware we bought a company who was number one in the space called Dotmatics. What did they do? They have high definition, unbelievable tools for the scientists to work with large and small molecule. They have a command center called Luma that actually does the contextualization and structure, and it already has AI kind of running on top of it. Why is that important? Because now we actually can give scientists tools to accelerate what they're doing in molecule to market and short the cycle of a drug coming to market. Think about this. A scientist does what? 100 experiments. May fail. What if we can do in silico? What if we can actually do multimodality, which we're doing with partnerships, for example, with Johnson & Johnson. Now that scientist actually gets to start with one because they know that the efficacy, the degree, the quality of what they're doing in that experiment is going to be successful and now can actually move forward in the life cycle. So exciting times to be with Siemens. Exciting times, obviously, to be working within the pharmaceutical space and working with folks like J&J and a great collaborative partnership.
So even with the complexity that we're hearing, Niels talk about, we look at the investments that we're making in digitalization all the way as early as the laboratory. Get you really excited. So Maria, we grabbed you. We didn't let you leave the stage. So here's your question. Given what Niels has talked about as challenges, what we've heard from Gerry today on our investments, what is your vision? You're the head of life sciences here. Your vision about our commitment and the journey that Siemens has in front of it in life sciences.
Yeah. Now, I'm, of course, super excited about this, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here. So like Gerry said, by this acquisition that we made, we now have an end-to-end portfolio and offering to this industry, which we did not have before. So that is quite something unique that Siemens is bringing to our customers. But more importantly, what Niels is saying, these challenges, we know them. The way we have now set up the team for Siemens, we have a great team at Siemens that is focusing on life sciences and all the customer challenges that we see. So the time is now. And I can also see that, the life sciences and pharma industry have had this reputation of being slow and being conservative. And so that is really changing now. I can really feel the momentum, how it's moving. So the time is right now, and Siemens is ready to partner up on these challenges.
I couldn't agree with you more. And maybe the show at Hanover makes you more biased, but when you see the rate of change, not just the significance of change that we're now seeing year by year, almost month by month, it's truly tremendous. So I want to build off that perspective, Gerry, for just a moment. What are you hearing consistently, though, from the pharma customers, maybe at the show or prior to the show, that resonates with our commitment, but also kind of speaks to what Niels was talking about earlier?
Yeah, I'll probably spin off a little bit in the context of AI, right? So what everyone thinks right now that AI is going to solve every problem for everybody. The thing I think you've seen or heard over the last couple of days is the fact that data matters, contextualization and structure matters, right? So from our perspective, we've been very deliberate in our investments and working with how are we assuring that the scientist is actually getting data that's effective so that can be validated. It has a high degree of efficacy based on what they're doing because the data is contextualized and structured. You and I have all probably done AI. There's not a lot of data. It's not contextualized. You get a result back. And you're like, that probably wasn't what I was thinking I was going to get back. Well, that clearly can't happen, obviously, in this industry because it has an adverse effect on us. So I'll end on the following. I think at the end of the day, this is about having better patient outcomes, right? It's about accelerating the science so that we actually have cures for friends and family. It's typically a 10-year cycle. The combination of what we're doing with our digital threads and our digital transformation with AI accelerating for the scientist and working in collaboration with J&J, I'm fairly confident we're going to go from a 10-year down to like 3/4, 2 to 3 years for next generation cures, which is actually really most exciting from my perspective.
So Gerry, you're talking about contextualization. You're really talking about digitalizing and transforming that entire journey. So Niels, I want to come back to you before we're finished here. As he's talking about contextualization, as we're talking about what we're hearing from the market and where our investments are responding, does that resonate with you at Johnson & Johnson?
Yeah, I think it's a very important element. So capturing data is one thing. So we have had data lakes for a long time within J&J. So capturing data as such, that's not necessarily the challenge. I think the capturing what and why, I think that's the challenging part. So why are we doing an experiment? What did we conclude from that experiment? And what is the development narrative? What is the storyline? And that is typically not something that you capture in an ELN or in an MES or in a control system. That needs something else. And I think if we can do that, then it will not only open up, let's say, I think the world to AI, but I think more importantly, it will enable us to learn. Today, the way that we manage knowledge is very tribal. People know things and they pass on things. If we can capture that development narrative, then we can institutionalize learning and knowledge. And I think that will be a key differentiator for the future.
Niels, thank you for that. We're almost out of time. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you each 30 seconds. All right, I'm going to ask one final question, and then I want you to give me as short an answer as you can, Gerry. All right, so that question is, what's the key to making digital transformation genuinely easy for scientists so it accelerates innovation rather than getting in the way? We'll start with Niels. Go, Niels.
It should be integrated in their workflow. It cannot be additional work.
Fantastic. Gerry.
People, process, and technology.
Oh, people, process, and technology. That's it? That's your answer?
Nah, I could keep going, but you said I had 30 seconds.
30 seconds. All right. And Maria, finally.
And get the data in order. That will solve your problems for sure.
So getting the data in order,
yeah.
People, process, and
technology.
There we go. And Niels, we want to thank you for being here and joining us online. So let's wrap it up. All right. So the one thing you should take away from this session, say it with me, molecule to market, right? I want you to remember that when you leave this session. Siemens is now answering the clarion call that we have in life sciences to improve patient results. That's the key here, helping the very people that need these therapies. So I am so very excited. So I want to thank Gerry Keane, the Gerry Keane, Maria Graham, Niels Vandervoort, who joined us online. Thank you for doing that, Niels. And with that, have a wonderful rest of the Hanover, and I hope you gained something from this today. Thank you.